main files in this episode, and we are going to start with the speech of Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, the President-designate of the COP27, or the United Nations Climate Summit, due to be hosted in the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh next November, inshallah. This is going to be a very important issue, a very important gathering or summit, as climate change is a threat to the globe, to the whole world, and to cooperate to fight and to face the challenges of the climate change. It's not a luxury anymore, it's a necessity, and cooperation and coordination among the world powers is a must to save the planet. Well, the Egyptian top diplomat in front of the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York tackled this issue, and he said that the food and energy crises, they are the result of the failure of the international community to achieve the sustainable development goals. And this is not for the best interest of one people or one nation, this is for the best interest of humanity at large. He also added that Egypt, according to its geographic location, is ready to be once again a hub for grains. It seems that it's our destiny to be the mother of the world. Egypt is Dunya. To shed more light on this, we are very much delighted to have with us former Assistant Foreign Minister, our diplomatic figure, and our economic expert, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi. A very good morning to you, Ambassador Bayoumi.
Good morning, good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you, sir. Sir, when I was reading this file and I listened to our top diplomat, Sameh Shoukry, addressing the 77th session of the UNGA, I remembered, it reminded me on the spot with this term, Sallat al-Ghilal, or the grains basket. Is Egypt capable of returning back to this concept, to this phrase? Are we able to be once again the grains hub?
Yes, and we used to be the grain hub, but we were only 8 million by that time. Now we are more than 10 times this size. Mm-hmm. But we are ambitious. We have ambitious projects. And really, I am glad to tell you, whenever I am driving my car on the north coast, I see that there is enormous effort in order to bring to us new lands and new capacity to produce agricultural products. Mm-hmm. So we are ambitious to do that. Why not? And also, as Egypt is in the middle of everywhere, we are using the place of Suez Canal for industry also, that we can provide whatever ships are crossing the Suez Canal with food, with whatever they need, with oil, with energy. And at the same time, the idea of Suez Canal is to produce industrial products, to be near to the Arab market, to the European market, to the African market. And the idea is the way to save time. Mm-hmm. You don't have to ship your television from Tokyo up to London. Yep. If you produce it in Egypt, then you save a lot of time. Yep. Same time, you save the tariffs, because Egyptian products are exempted from custom duties in Africa, in the Arab world, and in Europe. This means a market of 2,000 million inhabitants. Mm-hmm. This is one way we are using to attract more and more foreign direct investment. Amen. So why don't we do that for agriculture also, and using our place in the whole world, that we are near to all these markets. Yep. We have the privilege of entering any of those markets without paying any custom duties. So this is the idea I think our Minister Sameh Shoukry was trying to market for.
Amen to that. And to add to what you're saying, sir, yesterday there was a very important meeting, or the very first meeting of the Suez Canal Economic Zone head, Walid Gamal, as he announced that the authority is ready to monitor and to hold on the ground and to support the light, medium, and heavy industries in the new Suez Canal Zone. And I think that this is an open invitation to all investors, whether from Egypt or outside Egypt, to invest there with the full support of the authority. True?
Exactly. This is the idea. And more than what I said, that those who are going to produce in Suez Canal Zone, they are exempted from any taxes, Egyptian taxes. And they will be having raw material very near from them. That we have a working class, which is relatively much more efficient than anywhere else, and also cheaper. And we are proud that we are exporting 11 million workers all over the world, working for the countries they are serving, working for Egyptian monetary supply also. So Suez Canal is a sort of very important place if you think to produce.
Amen to that. Returning back, if you permit me, to the speech of Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry in front of the UN General Assembly, as he said it very clear. The world should launch a comprehensive global strategy to face the current global food crisis. To what extent this is a message or a warning, let's say, to the whole world, as tomorrow is going to be another day, and it seems that the Ukrainian-Russian war, it's not going to see an end that soon, unfortunately, of course. And this is going to have more negative repercussions and negative consequences, particularly on the developing nations.
This is true, and Sameh Shoukry was covering all the worries we are facing, whether on the international circle, which are the corona epidemic, which is also have a negative impact on our economies. Also, the war in Ukraine, it has a negative impact on the food supply and the energy supply. As of the energy, we are a positive element here that we can use Egypt as a hub for exporting energy, whether it is electric or oil or gas to Europe. The other thing is the food problem, where we are asking, of course, the whole world to organize this in order not to face any more food crisis. And I think Egypt did quite a fine job by replacing the Ukrainian-Russian supplies by other sources of wheat and cereals, because I think that we exaggerate a little bit about the impact of the food coming from Russia and Ukraine, because we depended on those two sources in the last few years. But I want to make ourselves more relaxed concerning this, because as a matter of fact, if we are talking about cereals, there is a surplus of cereals all over the world. We used to buy from the United States, from France, Germany, Romania, and the Eastern European countries. So personally, I am not very much worried about this, because we cleverly replace all the sources. And I personally, when I was negotiating with Europe, I used this idea that we are a big importer of cereals to ask Europe to give us a sort of privilege in their market also.
Yeah.
So we are for there, and I think we are up to any of these problems to solve it.
Yes. Sir, one final question regarding this issue, as we are going also to dive into the speech of our top diplomat in other issues. But another important statement which was said, or another important message Shukri said the food crisis is the result of the failure of the international community to achieve the goals of sustainable development. In your vision, sir, what are the reasons behind this failure? Is it struggles, disputes, political failure? What?
Yes, I think that a whole international war is a sort of impossible thing. We cannot tolerate a war between the two big powers. So instead of that, they are establishing small wars in Afghanistan, in Yemen, in wherever you think, in Ukraine, and this is a sort of failure. But I am afraid to tell you that President Eisenhower warned us about a situation like that. Whenever you don't have big wars, the weapons industry will push us to establish small wars in order to consume more and more weapons. This is dangerous, and we have to take care of this and to stop these wars, which are really without any reason.
Yes.
And I am the sort of optimistic diplomat because, according to my small experience, I think that we are up to it, and our diplomacy can face these problems. And the world needs a sort of arbitrator like Egypt and the non-aligned countries in order to help all parties in order to come to solution to the present war in Ukraine or in other places. So I hope we can face it. I hope we can solve it.
Moving to other important files which were mentioned in the speech of Shukri, reforming or the restructuring of the UN Security Council. How do you see the timing of mentioning this issue in specific, and to what extent it's applicable? I mean, this idea can be implemented on the ground, or it's only a first step in a long journey?
We were very near to solve this problem. But at the end, those who have the permanent representation in the Security Council are resisting this because the new system will be reducing of their power, will be adding some permanent countries in the Security Council, which is not very much welcoming in the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, whether it is the States or Russia, China, Britain, and France. The 5 big countries, they do not like the idea of more justice in our international community. So, although I am always optimistic, but there is a sort of resistance for such a reform.
Sir, Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri was keen to speak about the Egyptian stance regarding our Arab brotherly nations. First, to remind the world that we still do have big problems or big crises. Well, to remind them that still the Middle East peace process is stalled and we should return to the negotiating table with the 2-state solution with East Jerusalem or Al-Quds as the next, inshallah, capital of the independent Palestinian state, and also saying that Egypt is keen to work on reaching political settlement for the crises, whether in Libya, in Syria, or in Yemen, or even in Somalia, to achieve stability and security and to maintain the sovereignty of all these Arab countries. The whole world is now that busy with the energy and food crises, and they forgot all about this, so it was time to remind them of these chronic crises, or what?
In the Arab world, like many other regions, we have our problems also. But I think that the problems in Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Sudan, or Somalia, or Yemen, it is bearable. We can solve it because it is internal problem between Libyans themselves, between Syrians themselves, and so on. The only problem of the whole world, which is really neglected, is the Palestinian question. And we have what we call the double standard ways of dealing with the matter.
Yeah.
But I think we make a good step during the preparation of the Jeddah conference, which was the 9 countries, the 9 Arab countries hosting the President of the United States, where we make him get a step back, that he was calling us to establish a sort of NATO, Arab NATO against the wrong enemy. And the Egyptian diplomacy declared that Iran is not our enemy and we can deal with it. Iran appreciated this very much. Really, our problem is the occupation of the Palestinian territory. And I dealt with this matter a good portion of my diplomatic life, and even the very close friends of Israel, they do not see any future for Israel if not accept the two-state solution. Because one-state solution in 30, 50 years to come, it will be dominated by Arabs. We are the majority. And the birth rate on the Arab side is much more than the birth rate on the Jewish side.
Yeah.
So let us convince them, and I hope they come to reason. You know, the problem in Israel is that since the establishment of this country, no one party succeeded to have 51% of the votes. So it is always governed by small parties. A good portion of them are very right side and very stubborn concerning peace treaty. And we do not have the sort of leaders like Shimon Peres or Menachem Begin, or those who had the courage to sign agreements with Egypt, with Jordan, with Yasser Arafat by that time.
Yeah.
This is our main problem, that the division among the Israelis themselves is one big obstacle.
Yeah. One final topic which we are going to analyze or to raise in the speech of our top diplomat regarding the so-called disputed Ethiopian dam. And he said it that clear, that Egypt respects the will or the determination of the Ethiopians to develop. It's their own right. But in the same time, we are not going to just leave our rights or to continue with just leaving one drop of our right from the Nile River, because this is the destiny of our nation and this is our life. And he asked the international community to play its role regarding finding just and a fair solution for the best interest of the three peoples, the Ethiopian, Sudanese and Egyptian people. How do you see these words, sir?
This is a very clear problem, or very clear question. But personally, and I hope you are not calling me optimistic, I am optimistic concerning this problem for very important technical reasons. That, of course, if Ethiopia wants to create electric power, they have to run the water from south to north through the dam. If you don't let the water go, you do not have electricity. This is number one. Number two, the dam is at the high north point of Ethiopia. So they cannot use this water for irrigation because the water do not go from north to south. And Ethiopia doesn't use the River Nile at all for irrigation. They use the rains by 99.5% of their needs. So all the technical information will lead you to be optimistic. We are worried about 2 points. First, that this very heavy quantity of water may affect the territory there and maybe the dam itself will not tolerate all this capacity of water. And they didn't agree to have a sort of technical opinion about it.
Yeah.
The second problem that we asked them to make sort of couple of openness for water in case that the turbines do not work. They refuse. So I think that we have all the time, and thank God that practically in the last 3 years they failed to stop the water they wanted to stop there. And let us wait and see. But
Let's wait and
technically,
see, and I will call you practically optimistic, sir. As usual, I enjoyed my time. You are always an added value to our programs. We were very much delighted to have you to discuss the very important speech of our Foreign Minister in front of the 77th UN General Assembly. Thank you very much for your input, sir, and have a very good day. This was His Excellency Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. And right after the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.
In Karnak Temple, one of the kings of the 21st dynasty, called Pai